Despite the growing pile of evidence against them, though, Andy Lack and Noah Oppenheim still have their jobs. Tammy Bruce hosts Get Tammy Bruce every weeknight on Fox Nation. Every week. We wish it was every weeknight on Fox Nation, but it's still worth getting it to see it. She joins us now. So, Tammy, what do you make of this? I mean, you're always able to sort of connect the macro themes to today's news. This story seems redolent of them.
Yes, the Daily Beast story, I think, is very good because it touches on a lot of issues. And your interview with Mr. MeToo last night also was very valuable because after everything like that this network has gone through, that other networks have gone through, the education that everyone has had about the nature of what can happen in a workplace, but also the education about the importance, if you have the power and the security, to stand up against an abusive environment. And so it's one thing to have an abuser and, you know, that person, man or woman, is doing their thing. But if you're in a position of power and you're not involved and your job is going to be okay if you can stand up against it and make the workplace better for everyone, if you don't do that, that arguably makes you as bad as the perpetrator or maybe even worse because you're in a position where you can make a change. And this is where the Savannah Guthrie and Coda Hope, who's also defended Oppenheim and said to the NBC Universal chairman, according to the Daily Beast, that he should keep his job, is that one has to wonder, do you only come out if you've been fired? Do you only then condemn someone if there's blood in the water? Is the challenge, and maybe Chris Hayes is the best example in all of our experiences, of saying something at the time when there may be still some risk. But ultimately, it should be the sanitizing effect of sunlight, of people having this conversation, and also the internal talent. Women like Guthrie and Coda Hope, who are very, very respected, doing a very good job, I don't know either one of them, of instead of defending that, being willing to say, you know what, we can do better. Because remember, the argument was, you know, and the same with Harvey Weinstein. Don't bother them because either the ratings will go down or he's so good on the issues and something will be destroyed. Whereas, in fact, when Lauer went, the Today Show ratings went up and never came back down.
Right.
So these are excuses. And I think that we all have a role to play, and women in particular in the workplace have a special job to speak up.
I think that's right. But there's a theme here, though, that connects this story to so many other stories in corporate America, which is that no one in charge is ever punished for screwing up, ever.
Well, you know, it's also usually a very small group, right? And the idea and the notion of having other business ventures entwined. Savannah Guthrie doing very good in a business with Noah Oppenheim's wife. It seems like there is an effort, the same with Weinstein and maybe the Matt Lauer information, of creating webs that sometimes make it difficult to speak up and say it needs to end, maybe because people get comfortable with the status quo.
Are you kidding? If your boss came to you or my boss came to me and said, would you go into business with my spouse?
Yeah.
And use your job to promote the business, you would, I mean, would that make you uncomfortable?
Well, it depends on the nature of, look, and part of the NBC statement is, this is standard operating procedure. Hosts all the time have books, but not, this is the news division, and not the executives of the news
we don't
division.
do that at Fox. If I could just, I mean, not to be self-righteous about it, but that's crazy.
You know, as talent, when you're forward-facing, it's one thing to have a book. It's another thing for executives to use the environment to forward a personal agenda of their own, and using a spouse. It makes it very difficult, doesn't it, to then be able to stand up on your own and speak out against it.
Yeah. And you're the head of the news division. You're writing movie scripts. It's demented.
It's a web that becomes kind of sick and yet obvious on the surface. And NBC Universal, Comcast, someone there should be able to make a better decision.
You would think so. Tammy, great to see you tonight.
Thank you, dear.